Thank you, Jordan. Can you all? Okay, perfect. I am all set. Apologies for the difficulties. So, one, I want to just thank you all so much for joining our session to learn more about At Trust Justice Fellows Policy Program. For those of you who may not know me, my name is Sasha Taylor, and I am the Manager of Higher Education Justice Initiatives on the Higher Ed team at the National Office. I have the honor of managing our inaugural cohort of Justice Fellows, and I am so excited to share more about our fellowship. To get us started, I'm going to share a brief overview of the development and execution of the fellowship program, and then pivot to our virtual fireside chat where we'll be joined by 5 of our Justice Fellows. And I am so hyped for y'all to hear from these individuals. To make sure we leave a bulk of time for that fireside chat, I ask that you please keep your questions until the end, whether that's regarding the fellowship program or the fireside chat with the fellows. We've allotted time for Q&A with the audience, and Jordan will monitor those questions. Just please drop them in the chat. So what inspired the Justice Fellows Policy Program? Well, Dr. Tiffany Jones and I, who is a former Senior Director of Higher Education Policy at the National Office, sat down in 2019 to talk about our work, what our work could look like in the higher education and prison space for the foreseeable future. What we had just spent that year working with external partners and coalitions, learning and amplifying their work, and quickly realized one of our benefit adds in this space was elevating the voices of those directly impacted by the criminal legal system. We worked alongside external partners, providing technical assistance and offering a racial equity lens on policy recommendations and thought of how can we bridge the two. We were also in the weeds of the Equity in Higher Education Policy Lunch and Learn series in collaboration with the Institute of Higher Education Policy and the Leadership Conference for Civil and Human Rights, where we brought together civil rights organizations, equity-minded early career professionals, and students to learn more about higher education policies and their implications on equity. And we thought, what could this look like for individuals directly impacted by the criminal legal system? Because often, those who are closest to the problem are closest to the solution, but furthest away from resources and power. And something that we at Trust try and make sure we do in this space specifically is ensure that we're centering the voices and expertise of those directly impacted to address perpetuating issues, which the fellows will address a little bit later. So that means we're consulting their expertise in developing policy recommendations. We're co-authoring publications with these experts to amplify their voices. We're presenting with these experts on issues that directly impact them. We're joining their coalitions to support and align our work. And we're compensating them for their expertise like we would do for any other consultant in the field. This is just to provide you all with a few examples because it can and should go beyond that, including hiring and creating leadership positions. And so we were beyond excited to receive funding and positive feedback from partners for this fellowship program, but even more eager to build on the current momentum of directly impacted individuals leading in the criminal justice reform in higher education and prison spaces. And in this picture, which is one of my favorite, is our first Lunch and Learn, where we talked about college opportunity for justice impacted students. We have 2 of our advisory board members, Terrell Blunt and Evelise Galestra, facilitating a panel discussion, a panel with 2 incarcerated students with the Second Chance Educational Alliance. So we launched the application on October 12th, and to be eligible, applicants had to meet the following. They had to be formerly incarcerated or directly impacted, which we define as those who have been incarcerated, those with arrest and/or convictions but no incarceration, and those with only a juvenile record, with interest in issues at the intersection of higher education policy and the criminal legal system. If an individual was an early career professional, which we define as an individual could also be an early career professional, which we defined as someone with no more than 5 years of professional experience advocating on issues at the intersection of higher education policy and the criminal legal system. They also had to have explicit interest and passion for higher education policy issues impacting justice impacted students. They had to have availability to attend each Ed Trust structured engagement and convening and their monthly professional development meetings. They also had to be 18 years of age or older. So the selection process. The funny thing about the selection process was my goal was to have at least 250 applicants for the fellowship. And about 2 weeks before closing the application, I realized we would pass that goal because we had already had 300 applicants already. So once we closed the application November 23rd of 2020, we had an evaluation committee of about 30 Ed Trust staff members across all offices review about 15 to 20 applications. From their scores, we had 78 individuals receive a perfect score. Let's just pause. 78 individuals of the 400 plus received a perfect score. So a 12 out of 12 on our evaluation rubric. And that really speaks to the talent in the pool of applicants. Those 78 scores then advanced to our advisory board. And we had a two-step process for our advisory board to review applications, which ultimately landed us with 31 semifinalists. After a couple of thoughtful and thorough discussions, the advisory board agreed on 8 Justice Fellows, which I'll share in the next slide. So I won't read off the names of the Justice Fellows, but I do want to say that it was very important for us to have the advisory board members select the 8 fellows because of their experience and expertise, which I'll share in the next couple of slides. The board members came to each discussion with critical questions and insight and were intentional in ensuring that the cohort was diverse in geographical location, race and ethnicity, state imprisonment rate, gender, and experience. I wanted to take a moment for you all to just read over who the 8 Justice Fellows are. So I'll just give you one moment. And they all are super dope. I cannot wait for us to engage in this space. It's amazing, the work that we'll be able to do with them. And so I also wanted to share what will be expected out of the fellows. I won't read through each bullet point, but want to highlight that they will be collaborative. So these individuals will be working across Ed Trust teams and offices on issues that intersect with higher education policy and the criminal legal system. They will be providing their expertise to develop policy recommendations, as well as attending biweekly professional development meetings to develop their skills, such as writing an op-ed, public speaking, public policy analysis, and more. Okay, so I really quickly just wanted to highlight that we could not have reached the 400 plus people without the outreach of our EdTrust staff and our networks. I wanted to provide a few example tweets that just had me like, oh my goodness, like we're reaching networks that we may not have tapped into before. And I was very appreciative of seeing all of the support across social media platforms. Of course, I know our president and CEO, John King. And of course, I know the EdTrust staff, but I had no idea who this person was, and they had over 300 retweets. And I think that's a testament to the amount of people we were able to have apply for this great opportunity. And so I wanted to share the names of our 15 advisory board members. These individuals were invited and accepted our invitation to advise us with the Justice Fellows Policy Program, as well as serve as mentors to the fellows. All of these individuals, except for 2, are directly impacted, meaning they have been formerly incarcerated, and the 2 who are not lead their own higher education and prison program. I also want to shout out our internal working group. This is a working group of EdTrust staff members who helped us create from beginning to end. They took this concept, me and Tiffany, all of our ideas, and we created the fellowship program from outreach strategy. So just wanted to give them a shout out and just say thank you. And now I'm going to be joined by 5 Justice Fellows, and we will pivot to our virtual fireside chat. Again, please begin to ask questions that you may have about the fellowship program, and I'm sure you all will have questions as the fellows engage in such a great conversation that is needed in this current moment. Fellows, I will just say when you do come up, please introduce yourselves, who you are, what you're doing, and then I'll hand it over to Amari to get us started.
Okay, here we go. Here we go. Sorry about that. I thought that she said we were going to introduce ourselves and then get started, but here we go. Okay, so my name is Omari Amili. I'm going to be moderating the discussion today. First, I'll tell you a little bit about myself. I am a 36-year-old father of six from Spanaway, Washington. I released from prison in 2008 at the age of 23 years old with the GED, and that was the time that I enrolled in college, and I climbed from a GED all the way up to a master's degree, and have become a strong advocate for post-prison education and corrections education ever since. My full-time job is with the Seattle-based nonprofit called Choose 180 that works with youth who have been impacted by the system. We do youth diversion work in schools, helping with suspension and expulsion, things like that. And what inspired me to get involved with this program was just my passion for helping to change the narrative and introduce new possibilities for individuals from backgrounds similar to mine. You know, to let people know that, look, there is another way. When you get out of prison, education is an opportunity for you that can help change your life. So the first question that I have for our panelists today is pretty much what I just did to just get us started. Could you tell us more about who you are and what encouraged you to apply for the fellowship? Everyone to get a chance to answer this. I guess we can just do it popcorn style. Okay, you guys are gonna have to unmute yourself, I believe.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, awesome. All right, everybody, how's it going? My name is Patrick Rodriguez. I'm from Atlanta, Georgia, and I just want to start by saying it's truly an honor to be here amongst my peers, and I want to thank the Ed Trust team for including us in on this conversation. So a little bit more about me is I am finishing my undergrad at Kennesaw State University, and I'd like to attend law school next year. I work as the co-executive director for the Georgia Coalition for Higher Education in Prison. I also work as the director of advocacy and community engagement with Common Good Atlanta, and I'm a part of the Leadership Institute for the Georgia Association for Latin American Elected Officials. I was really encouraged to apply because it aligned with my intentions and what I am working to do, and that is increase prison education opportunities for those who are currently incarcerated and making education more accessible for those who have been released and impacted by the carceral system. As somebody who has taken classes in prison and then navigating the box that asks if you have been convicted of a crime, to working with prison education programs here in the state of Georgia, for me, this just felt right. And it aligned with what my purpose is and what it is that I'm working towards.
Thank you, Patrick. Who's next?
Hi, everyone. My name is Alexa Garza. I am a certified Braille transcriber from Dallas, Texas. I received my higher education while incarcerated for 19 years. I experienced firsthand the discrimination females had compared to the males concerning college programming. I was told that women did not need a master's program, that our place was in the home. And that just lit a fire under me. So when the opportunity for the fellowship came across, I thought this would be a great opportunity for me to use my lived experience to share the realities of what it is like to get your college degrees inside the prison, the obstacles that you encounter. My career path for college was having to choose between not being able to go to the bathroom for 6 hours or attending class. being able to shower for the day or attend class, being stripped naked 4 times or attend college. And that's the realities that we face, and I wanted to talk about it. So here I am. I'll pass it to Jared.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Jared Wall. I served 26 years in the Indiana Department of Corrections. And I received a GED, then began my college education in the fall of 1990. So I began my program before the 1994 ban on Pell Grants for prisoners. I was able to finish my degrees because Indiana kept using state grants all the way up until 2011. They had a fairly statewide robust program, several programs. Then it was discontinued then 2011. But also, in addition to earning the degrees, I was really fortunate. I was able to basically be the clerk or administrate the college program for over 12 years inside. So I had the opportunity. It's interesting to be a student, but then also an administrator. And I ran the day-to-day runnings of the program, getting people called out, helping the professors with what they would need, but then also the yearly planning. Grant applications, registration, curriculum planning for the next semester, setting up a bridge program for students to be ready for college level work. Just gave me a great opportunity just to get kind of full perspective from the inside. Now I'm grateful being out here on the outside and have the opportunity with this fellowship to kind of gain a third perspective on post-secondary education policy. So just again, grateful for this and the opportunity. I mean, this is what's changed my life, and I've seen over the 12 years where I was helping run the program, change so many other lives, and just appreciate the opportunity. Rabia.
Yes. Thank you, Jared. Thank you all. This is so overwhelming. This is so amazing. I apologize for a little error because I am in the Pacific time zone. I think there was a little misunderstanding, but I just want to introduce myself. Hello, everyone. My name is Robbie Kutab, and I am joining in from Los Angeles, California. A little bit about myself. My journey of reentry just began 9 months ago, and it's been a crazy journey full of adventure and opportunities that I never thought I would be part of. Coming from a pre-medical background, I was entangled with the criminal justice system after I graduated college, and this was probably the best thing that had happened to me because while I was incarcerated from 2016 to 2020, there was no opportunities for me to even pursue any classes or any education while I was inside. The highest form of degree they were offering was just our high school diploma and GEDs, and I thought this was a huge barrier. I thought this was a huge barrier. It put a hold on my life. It put a stop on my life. So as I get out this past summer 2020, I had to redefine my whole life. I had to redefine my whole identity, and it was the most as a second chance, it meant everything to me. So to be able to come out to Los Angeles, being incarcerated in the state of Texas was probably the best decision I ever made. And I applied for this fellowship very early on in my reentry world and life. And like I said, to be given a chance, to be given a hope and a promising hope that, look, you just got out and you can be a part of this team. You can be a part of a name called Ed Trust was just fulfilling in ways that it changed my life. It changed my brand. It gave me value in another level. And now I'm here to advocate for our community. Currently I work for Project Rebound and Rising Scholars. And I'm a project expert at Mount San Antonio College, and I help enroll students that are fresh out, that are on parole and probation, just to try to get them in higher education. Because my goal for my students is you're going to get your undergrad degree, and you're going to get your master's degree, and you're going to get your PhD, because there's no stop to this. And so it's an honor to be here. I'm also part of prison education reform, which is very important because the changes that needs to be made are from within. So the educational system and reformation has to be done within the prison system itself, because it's very important for people who are incarcerated to be able to get secondary education while they're incarcerated. So as they come out, they're able to establish themselves. And so that's all I want to say. And thank you all.
Thank you all for introducing yourselves and sharing that with us. I'm really feeling the passion, and I'm honored to be in company with you guys and excited for, the impact that we're going to make and the work that we're going to do over this next year together. So the next question that I have for you guys is, you don't all have to answer, but you can chime in if you want to. What makes you most excited about the Justice Fellows Policy Program?
Hello, can you guys hear me? I think I'm going to start like that every time. So just like, because I think we're all so used to just Zoom and not knowing if everybody's like speaking and nothing's coming out. It's like a freezing moment. No, my name is Patrick again. I'm actually just really excited just because of this right here, right? Being included in conversation to understand and meet people who are going through the same things that I'm going through as well, who are like fighting those barriers and like having to navigate those things. And so for me, the Justice Fellows program puts in place the training that I'm going to need to fight the system in a different way, in an intentional way. I've never written an op-ed, but we're going to learn how to write an op-ed. So by the time this is over with, I will be writing op-eds. Like, it's just that simple, right? I've never spoken on a fireside chat. I'm speaking in a fireside chat. Now I know how to speak in a fireside chat. So it's like these awesome opportunities that I have never had before that seem to be so blanketed and on the floor. And it also helps you go into a professional environment. What does it mean to keep up with the schedule? What does it mean to email people? What does it mean to have email etiquette? What does it mean to speak professionally, to network, to make connections, to water that network, to grow that network? All of this stuff, I've never had a professional job my entire life. Okay. So this is like the first step towards that. And it's like, okay, like you just don't learn how to do these things. It's through trial and error. And EdTrust has cultivated an area and a space for us to make mistakes, to grow together, to learn together so that we can push to be a part of the conversation. Because I think many people will say it 10 times, you've heard it a million times, those who are closest to the problem are closest to the solution, right? And so we are closest to the problem. We have dealt with the problem, and we do know what needs to be done to get it done. But you can't just come from an imagined point of view. You have to have those skills in place in order to begin executing those things so that the change that you and everybody else, and I believe everybody on this call wants to see, begins to happen. And so that is what makes me so excited about the Educational Trust Justice Policy Fellow Program.
Thank you, Patrick.
I would add a little bit behind Patrick because it is, it's amazing what he just spoke of, right? Giving us a platform to show us that, yes, we can be professionals because we come from lived experience and we come from the back end, but we are the people that understand what has been done wrong right from the get-go. So it's very important for us to utilize our skills, not only the skills that we learned while we were incarcerated, but the skills we're going to utilize when we get out in the free world. And I think it's very important for me to elaborate on the fact that me being a part of the team makes me feel honored because, being out fresh in my journey into higher education, this is my learning platform. There is no other platform that will provide me with the skills or network or connections globally to be able to make my brand again. So it's very important for these connections to happen because this is how you grow in the professional environment, and this is how you grow in educational environment. I'm pleased to also say that being given a second chance in life and having a platform look at you and be like, look, we know what you're doing, we know what your goals are, and we're going to give you a chance to prove yourself is one of the best things that happened in my life. And just to emphasize on that, to be given a second chance and opportunity in our reentry journey is very important for fellows, incarcerated fellows to have. And so this provides me to say that there should be more programs like this. There should be more opportunities like this because this gives us a promising and fulfilling future that yes, we can get up there and no, there's no time behind us. There's nothing, and we can utilize our skills and grow with the community, which is full of professionalism and full of expertise in this policy making. Thank you.
Absolutely love the humility. You guys are experts in your own lived experience and the things that you guys have gone through, but you're approaching this from a perspective, not only can I inform others, but I'm here to also be informed. This is a moment for me to learn and grow, and that's huge. So the next question that I have for you guys is, We were very excited and inspired to see Pell restoration included in the omnibus bill. What impact do you all think Pell restoration will have for students we care the most about? And is there anything we should be concerned about or looking out for regarding Pell implementation? Jared, go ahead.
Yeah, I'll go on that one. Excuse me. Thank you. First of all, I mean, it can never be overemphasized that a college education in prison absolutely changes people's lives. I saw this in my own experience. I saw this with 12 years. That's why I kept giving back and wanted to help run that program because I saw it daily. And I don't know if you can fully understand that if you don't understand the deprivation that comes with prison. Educational deprivation, for one, so much just came. I had been a junior in high school when I was incarcerated. And when I started my college program, I honestly didn't know if I'd ever get out of prison. So for me, it was a situation of, one, who do I want to be? What do I want? How do I want to live? So here in prison, you're living this just horrible, monotonous, gray existence. It's the French word ennui, like existential boredom might be the closest, right? And then, all of a sudden you're going to college and it's new ideas are exploding like fireworks. Each class you're getting new concepts and new ideas, and it's just always, it's like turning a black and white movie into Technicolor or maybe HD color, is the difference. And then two, I entered every class not as a subject to learn, but as a lens through which to look at my life. It gave me a lens through which to look at my past and how I had been raised and critique my culture. It gave me a lens through which to look at my current culture of prison. And then it also gave me a lens to look at the larger systemic problems that were going on, mass incarceration and others. I could go on for that for a long time, but I'll just kind of stop that there. And then I think what's important now is we're implementing the Pell Grant. One, it's nice to see. And as a side note, I didn't mention earlier, I'm a PhD student now at Tulane University. In my whole journey started inside, and here I'm doing this now. But secondly, what we need, I think right now we're on the right track. We are involving the voices of those formerly incarcerated. Okay. I think also what we need to do is we need to involve the voices of those who are incarcerated also. It's interesting, if you look at some of the studies, they've done some pilot programs. And before they started programs, they had ran some pilots, and therefore recognized some problems before the program was implemented, and they were able to come up with solutions before the program began. Later, they ran some program evaluations on programs that had been going, same problems brought up, but the programs were already running, so they didn't really have the solution to come up with. They didn't have the program when they went there before. They were able to nip it in the bud first. So I guess I just want us to implement things in the right way, involve voices formerly incarcerated and incarcerated, so we don't have to try to fix problems later that we can just prevent right
now. I would like to add on that. My concern for the Pell Grant restoration has been that I don't believe that the units or the administration would advertise, promote, inform the population of the magnitude and importance of the possibility of taking college now with this Pell Grant restoration. It was very difficult for us to learn anything like when the new things that were coming out. We had to rely on our people in the free world to email us or tell us on the phone or at a visit, and we still had to confirm it if it was a rumor or truth. I am concerned that the already understaffed units would not do it justice, because I never in my 19 years heard anyone encourage a GED student to enroll in college. Never. The obstacles that were put in our path to discourage us from continuing our education were more than that was like promoting it. I had my college experience was a 3-inch pencil that I could not sharpen and 5 sheets of notebook paper. And if I did not have more than 5 sheets, I would get a disciplinary case. And I hear about these amazing programs that were available to others in other states, but my experience is tainted and cynical when it comes to the administration doing what they should. And that is a great concern of mine, that individuals incarcerated right now will never be able to get the opportunity unless we change the narrative, change the policy, and go in there and say, we need transparency. We need to see what you're doing. We need to talk to them. We need to monitor it. We need to be on top of it, because I can write a policy and I can say, this is how you're supposed to do it. But the people on the street, the people on the unit level, they're not going to do it. So that was a great concern for the Pell Grant restoration and in general, what we're doing here in the space. So
Thank you guys for that. Those are some very valid concerns. There's definitely gonna be some growing pains with this, with implementation, trying to make sure that the quality of education is the same as individuals would get on the outside. One of my biggest concerns is just making sure that people know, okay, you get the education, but when you want outcomes at the end of that, there's other things that need to take place as well, like professional development, getting your resume right, just knowing what it takes to be employable, things like that. So I think that's one of my concerns, because when I got out, I'm thinking, look, all I need is the degree. All I need is the degree. I didn't really know that there were these other things that I could be doing to kind of boost myself, to make myself
right,
competitive for jobs at the end of that.
right. Having a degree is not the magic key that opens the door. I had a specialized skill set coming out with the Braille. I'm a certified Braille transcriber, and I had a job the moment that I got out with the connections I made. However, I'm still finding that they still treat me like an offender. They still call me by my last name. They still see me. They want to pay me that prison rate compared to what my counterparts are making. So you're absolutely right, Omari. Like, it's not just a magic key. Oh, I have a degree. I got my education. It's still like a bachelor's degree now is like an associate was 10 years ago. It's like getting your foot in the door. You need an upper level, higher ed education, college degree.
Definitely. So yeah, we're down to one last question for you all. You can all chime in. Is there just anything else that you would like to add to the discussion today? You guys have shared a lot of good things with us. Are there any final thoughts or comments that you might like to share?
Yeah. Hi, can you guys hear me? Okay, great. Yeah. So I think, so for me, I kind of wanted to touch on just how important it is that the Pell Grants are reinstated. So we all know that in 1994 they were taken away. And so at that time, people thought that was a good idea. And so unfortunately, there are moments in time throughout our history where people think that certain things are good ideas. And we don't know how much of an effect that taking away those Pell Grants is currently having on us today. But we are at a moment in time where we are seeing what is coming in 2023, and we are going to attempt to make it to where there are not as many predatory practices coming from the university systems to take advantage of that monetary gain that will ultimately come from the prison industrial complex, right? And so I think about what it is that is happening, and it is like we are seeing what's coming. We are on the forefront, we are on the front lines, and we are going to try to do our best effort to be a part of the voice, to talk about everything that Alexa went through, to talk about the struggles of Rabia, to talk about Omar, to talk about Jared, talk about Patrick. This is what didn't work. And so this is what doesn't need to happen. And this is what we can do to make sure that it does work. And it is such a shame that sometimes we hear people say, why is it that people who are in prison deserve education? People think that, oh, in order to get a good quality education, you need to go to prison. Now that they're going to get Pell Grants and stuff like that. Like, none of that is even true. Like, I imagine living in a world that is led with kindness and grace, to where everybody has an opportunity to be given, to be forgiven, no matter what their act of humanity is. And that is where we need to be functioning and thinking from. Because if you exclude somebody, you exclude everybody. And so I just want to challenge everybody to think like that. My name is Patrick. Those are pretty much my final thoughts. Super excited to be here. Super excited for this opportunity. Super excited to be here with my peers. Thank you.
Omari, is it okay? I saw a question, and it's okay if I can answer that on the chat.
I think we give our final thoughts or comments first, and then we'll move on to Q&A after that.
Can I add something? I just want to say, Patrick, everything you said was so beautifully said. I cannot even add anything on it. But one thing I do love that you spoke was that this is not our voices, right? Like, we're speaking on behalf of people that cannot speak for themselves. When I was incarcerated, I wish that there was some work being done and somehow I'm being supported. So we're pretty much doing the work for people that cannot talk about these problems, because this is very important to understand that we represent a community that's like, we have what, 250 100 people in just LA in the carceral systems, and so we spoke for people who are struggling. Those are our brothers and sisters. So this is a very important space for us to connect and communicate, because your voice is so shut down while you're incarcerated that the work has to be done by people like us, like justice fellows, students, advocates, professionals, teachers, educators. So this is our little space, so we can show our work out there for our brothers and sisters who are incarcerated.
Any other final thoughts or comments?
Yeah, just quickly, as I said, I was pre-1994, so I saw when that happened, and then I later saw when the Pell Grant was disbanded. And so I remember reading nationally how overnight, basically the next day, you had programs coming in and just boxing up. I remember in 2011 in Indiana, just honestly the despair that just kind of blanketed the prison when those college programs were going to be no longer, when people received that. Some people couldn't finish their degrees. Universities tried to help let people, but not everybody could. And just to see that despair, that hope extinguished with people, intergenerational hope too. They were examples for their children coming in. They were hoping for themselves for, those credentials and that better life when they get out then too. And then, to see that go away, and then just have been grateful to have been involved over a lot of the advocacy over the years, trying to get it back. And so seeing this program back now, the Pell Grant coming back, and just like Patrick and others, and I said earlier now, just to get it implemented in the proper way so we don't have to correct things later.
Uh-oh. Okay, can you hear me now? Perfect, perfect. And so one, I just want to chime in. It sounds like anyone else has anything else to say actually before I get to talking. All right. So I just want you all to just virtually join me in giving a round of applause to the Justice Fellows for this amazing virtual fireside chat. I just want to say I was super excited for you all to have this first EdTrust presentation, just to get your feet wet and just get comfortable with talking about these important issues and the work that you all will be doing. We're now pivoting to the Q&A portion. I will be here moderating. Again, you can ask questions about the program, as well as to the fellows directly, which I strongly encourage. But we'll go ahead and get started with one of the first questions, and that is, how can state advocates help you with your work as fellows? Since you all are doing advocacy in various states, I do want you all to be able to chime in and say how they can help you all. But I'll just start by saying we will be working on some state advocacy work that should be coming out in the fall of 2021, where we'll be informing advocates on higher education issues that impact justice, impacted students. So ban the box, which means are your colleges asking about criminal history questions, looking at state financial aid. Are your states providing financial aid for incarcerated, informally incarcerated students? Very important to ask the incarcerated part, because as they were saying, students who are incarcerated should have access as well. And it's not enough to just give Pell Grants. Some programs are more than the Pell Grant offers. So we'll be publishing work in fall. Please promote, please engage. We'll be circling back with all of you to share those materials. And if there's ever any synergy in terms of the issues that you're working on in your states, I'm going to drop our email. Actually, I'll drop the webpage in the chat one more time. And you can feel free to email the EdTrust Justice Fellows and we'll respond to you. And anyone else, feel free to chime in how they can help in your state.
So I know for me, the what my advocacy comes in different forms. There's the way that you talk to, for example, our state capital is Olympia. So individuals go to Olympia and they share their stories and experience with state representatives and the governor and things like that. But another form of advocacy that I like to participate in is just, trying to change the culture and change individuals, mindsets and things like that. So challenging language that you hear that might kind of dehumanize us, things like that. Doing things. If you're talking to somebody who is in a position of power, just advocating for providing second chances. And I feel like advocacy can come in many different forms, and you just got to find the best way for you and what's a great fit. Outside of sending emails and showing up to testify on bills, there's a lot that can be done. So just use your voice and make sure that you kind of redirect and confrontation, but not in a negative way, right? Like kind of challenge people on these negative perceptions that they have. And that's a form of advocacy that I would love to see a lot more of.
Anyone else want to chime in? I know we're getting close to time and we got one more question, but feel free if anyone else wanted to chime in. Alrighty, so I'll go ahead and ask this next question. In Kentucky, there has been a greater emphasis on vocational/technical education that can help people get a job in prison. What suggestions do you have to promote bachelor degree programs as valuable as well? And Jared, I'm looking. Oh, go ahead.
No.
No, Alexa, for sure. And Jared, I would also like for you to answer this question as well.
I was just wanting to say, I came from Texas is very big on vocational, and I think you should not distinguish between two things. Why not both? Getting a degree in college means that you're teachable, that you can learn, that you can absorb, because we never fully finish learning. So in addition to the vocational, that's awesome, but the bachelor's degree, the higher ed, the master's degree, even basic associate's degree, it would just be another tool in your tool belt to go out there and kind of like open some doors. So I don't think there should ever be a distinction between either or. I always think it should be both, and we should definitely be promoting that.
Yeah, great answer, Alexa. I mean, I'm for bachelor degrees, and a lot of people speak against liberal arts too, and I think the liberal arts are great. I mean, the humanities, the arts, they are what you contemplate your life. Again, I didn't know if I was gonna get out of prison, and so for me, it was like, who do I want to be? How do I want to live? What is life? What are I want to be able to answer these questions for myself, and then those answers that you make, and you're continually answering them through the rest of your life, but those answers you take with you for your whole life, no matter what you are doing the rest of your life. And those make you a better human being inside. Those are what make you have a ripple effect in prison and affect those around you, answering those questions and getting other people to look at those questions too. Those are what you influence your children, your family with. In my opinion, DOC should be the ones providing vocational education. So I feel like our university should be coming in and having the college education programs, but I still feel like it's nice for people to have those skills when they get out, to have those extra opportunities there. It's even nice if someone wants to have that kind of work, to do vocational work while they're working and going to college, or while they're waiting to get admitted to college. But I don't have anything against both, but I feel like the college education programs, bachelor degree, non-vocational, I'm an advocate of.
Perfect. Thank you for that. And I want to ask this one last question because I do think it's important, and it kind of hints at the first question asked as well, but elaborates a little bit more. So you've all touched on some very important issues already. What are some other issues advocates can some other issues that advocates can be pushing their leaders on in the state specifically? Go right ahead.
Like in Texas, equality, male versus female, because it is, if you see it, you would get angry. It is like nothing. Right now, women do not even have a bachelor's program. They got rid of it. And two vocationals, hairdressing and landscaping, because that's the only thing women need. So there's just that's huge in Texas, and I just want to make that clear.
Hey, so in the state of Georgia, so we know what the elections just look like. There was around 266,000 people that could not vote because they were on probation or parole. So there's a really big campaign out here called No Taxation Without Representation. We are citizens, we pay taxes, and we have no representation, but we cannot vote. So just imagine what the elections would have looked like if those 266,000 votes would have been able to be a part of the elections that just happened. So that's really a big thing in the state of Georgia right now. And we all know what happened with us with Park Cannon. We all know what's going on with the All-Star game. You know, there's a lot going on around voting rights in the state of Georgia. So pitch in, vote, get out there. We're at the Capitol every day. Like, it's happening. So thank you guys so much.
I think there's several issues that we need to be looking at. And again, I think hearing the voices of those who've been there and those who are inside. I mentioned earlier focus groups. One of the things that they found in focus groups is affordability of college education in prison. You're like, what does that mean? You know, room, tuition, books, you know, these food are all paid for, you know, but living in prison isn't necessarily free. And so what it comes down to, they found in these focus groups, a lot of times then people had to make the decision then, do they want to go work in a prison job or industry job where they can make enough to actually get by and live comfortably, or are they going to go for where in college where they may not get paid or only have student pay, which is always lower than work pay. And so it's interesting that the people who did the focus groups before they started the program, they found this out and they came up with solutions. Those who did focus groups during programs, 3 out of 4 using the same questions found this an issue. But again, they didn't necessarily have the opportunity to make a solution. So for this is, you know, basically affordability, or, you know, the cost of attendance of college and prison. I kind of been working on this idea for a while. I'm getting ready to kind of put some more out about it, working with Ed Trust right now to put an op-ed out on it. And I'm kind of working on some research as well, but not just to plug myself there, but it's an important issue, and it serves as a larger example of, we wouldn't have thought of that. People wouldn't have thought of that unless you were there and had that experience. I ran into that running the college program for 12 years, seeing this happen. Or speaking more importantly to those people who are on the ground floor, the boots on the floor, experiencing that. And they're in that decision, you know, wow, you know, for, you know, which way can they actually afford to live? But there are probably several examples like this, but we won't know unless if we don't ask.
And I know we got to go, but I just want to add: eliminate barriers to employment and professional licenses after we earn our education.
And drop the mic on that, Omari. Thank you for adding that point. And I know we are over time, but I want to thank all of you who stayed to hear the rest of what the fellows had to say. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much. This was amazing. There will be plenty more opportunities as such. If you're on the listserv, or if you want to know more information, I did already put the link to the Justice Fellows Policy Program in the chat. Please sign up so you stay up to date on the projects we're working on. This is just the beginning. And so I just want to say that state time is next, and that you all can return to the agenda for the rest of today's schedule. But thank you all for joining us today.